Welcome everyone. My name is Marcus, aka the Bourbon Judge. Um, Bringing you a brand new YouTube channel where I will focus primarily on bourbon and bourbon only. So, wanted to create this channel really for a couple of reasons. I've been a bourbon fan for a good number of years, but I remember starting off trying to figure out what type of bourbon should I buy, how much does it cost, what does it taste like. So for those that are new, I wanted to kind of help out and give some different reviews and different perspectives. And then also for the bourbonites, the more, let's call it bourbon connoisseurs. You're interested in buying maybe a higher priced bourbon and you're wondering whether or not should I buy it, what does it taste like, what can I compare it to? Hopefully I can, kind of give some reviews and my perspective on some of those higher end bourbon examples. So with that, before we kind of get started, a couple of things of, and you think about bourbon. So bourbon is American whiskey. So what makes American whiskey called bourbon? For a couple of reasons, right? First and foremost, the primary ingredient has to be corn. So 51% of the, let's call it the blend, if you will, has to be corn based. Number two, the bourbon has to be distilled in American charred oak wood barrels. So American oak wood barrels is definitely key, and it has to be aged in those barrels for a minimum of at least 2 years. When you're thinking about bourbon and you're thinking to yourself, how do I drink it? You see people drinking it with ice cubes and not and so forth. So a couple of different ways. Number one, you can make it into a mixed drink. That's definitely an option, not one I personally prefer. You can have it on the rocks, which is the ice cubes. You can do one or two. Typically, the only time you would add an ice cube is either A, you're newer to drinking bourbon, or B, it's a higher proof and you're just trying to maybe cut it a little bit and bring down some of that intensity. But the most important, and I would say the best way of drinking bourbon is straight neat. So no additions, no, other liquors and so forth, is straight right out of the bottle, which again is probably the best way to really kind of taste the flavors from bourbon. So now we have a good knowledge in terms of, bourbon, how it's made and so forth. So let's go ahead and jump into this review. So for today, we're reviewing Michter's bourbon. So Michter's, a couple cool things about them. Number one, they have the first female master distiller. Her name is Pam Heilman. So congrats, Pam, being the first female master distiller. Number two about Michter's, which I think is really interesting as well, is that they age their bourbon to taste. So what that means is that when you go out and you'll see on a bottle, many occasions, it'll say age for 5 years, age for 10 years. For Michter's, they don't have a set number of years that they age their bourbon. They truly age it to taste. So it may be aged for 3 years, and they say, you know what, the quality is great. Or they may wait another year till year 4, and then they finally release it to the masses where you and I can go out, buy it, and enjoy it. I will say they have some limited editions where it's aged 10, 15, or 20 years, but the everyday small batch is, again, not a set time frame, which is definitely important. And another interesting and final fact about Michter's is that when bourbon enters the barrel, it enters the barrel at 103 proof versus the industry standard for bourbon, which is 125. And the reason why they do that is because through the charring process, when you enter the barrel at a lower proof, they feel that the sugar is really kind of crystallized and enhances the flavor of the bourbon. So kind of adds a little bit, maybe more of a sweeter tone or notes to the bourbon. So let's go ahead and give this a try. So I will say many times if you read on bourbon and you're trying to understand it, everyone says it smells like caramel, I smell vanilla. That's not always the case, not at least in my opinion. However, I will say as an exception, Michter's definitely does smell like caramel and vanilla for sure. So we'll try it. Really, really good. This by far is probably one of the undervalued bourbons on the market. So from a price standpoint, you can probably pick this up anywhere from $40 to $50. This I would say is probably one of the best bourbons on the market for the value, right? At that price point, $40 to $50, you truly can't go wrong with Michter's. Let's taste that one more time. Nice and smooth. You smell the caramel, vanilla. Folks, you truly can't go wrong with this bourbon. If you're going out to the liquor store, I highly suggest that you pick it up. As they say, the judgment's in. This is a buy. Guaranteed, high quality product. Can't go wrong with Michter's bourbon. Please check me out. I'll be here every week providing an updated or brand new review on a different bourbon. Until then, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks again, and welcome to the Bourbon Judge. Take care, folks.